Welcome to Ancient Mysteries. I'm your host, Ben Carter, and in today's episode we journey back nearly 13,000 years to a moment when the world may have changed forever. Was Earth struck by a massive comet during the Younger Dryas period? Could that cosmic impact have wiped out civilizations, melted ice sheets, and plunged humanity into a sudden and mysterious ice age? Stay with me as we explore the clues buried beneath our feet and hidden in the stars. The story of the Younger Dryas begins with a world very different from our own. Roughly 13,000 years ago, the last ice age was drawing to a close. Massive glaciers, some over 2 miles thick, blanketed much of North America and northern Europe. As global temperatures gradually rose, ice sheets began to retreat, giving way to vast meltwater lakes, grassy plains, and the early stirrings of civilization. Archaeological evidence suggests that human populations were expanding, hunting megafauna and adapting to new environments with growing sophistication. One of the most prominent cultures thriving during this time was the Clovis culture, in what is now North America. They were skilled hunters and toolmakers, known for their distinctive spear points. The Clovis people likely lived in small nomadic groups, moving with the herds and surviving in a world shaped by ice, rivers, and the changing seasons. But just as the Earth seemed to be warming and stabilizing, something sudden and dramatic occurred. Around 12,800 years ago, the planet experienced an abrupt climatic reversal. Temperatures plummeted, glaciers advanced once more, and entire ecosystems collapsed. This period, now known as the Younger Dryas, lasted for over 1,000 years. Its onset was shockingly swift. In some regions, temperatures dropped by as much as 15 degrees Fahrenheit in just a few decades or even less. The cause of this sudden shift puzzled scientists for decades. Traditional explanations focused on disruptions in ocean currents, particularly the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation, which is responsible for distributing heat between the tropics and the polar regions. According to this theory, a massive influx of fresh water from melting ice sheets may have shut down this conveyor belt of warmth, plunging the northern hemisphere into an icy relapse. However, not everyone agreed with that interpretation. Some researchers began to notice anomalies that the ocean theory could not explain. They pointed to a curious black mat layer found at multiple archaeological sites across North America. This dark, thin layer of carbon-rich soil appeared directly above Clovis artifacts, suggesting a sudden and catastrophic change in the environment. Beneath the mat lay spear points, mammoth bones, and the remains of a thriving world. Above it, evidence of fire, extinction, and silence. The abrupt disappearance of the Clovis culture coincided eerily with the beginning of the Younger Dryas. Megafauna like mammoths, mastodons, saber-toothed cats, and giant sloths vanished from the fossil record. In some regions, these extinctions occurred in what seemed like a geological instant. For those who began to question the conventional narrative, one chilling possibility began to emerge. What if Earth had been struck from above? What if a comet, or fragments of a cosmic object, had slammed into the planet, unleashing fire, floods, and a flash freeze that rewrote the course of human history? The Younger Dryas Impact Hypothesis was born from this troubling convergence of clues. In the early 2000s, a group of scientists began piecing together data from across the globe, microscopic evidence buried in sediment, odd patterns in extinction, and ancient stories passed down through oral traditions. What they proposed was radical, that around 12,800 years ago, a comet or fragmented cosmic body entered Earth's atmosphere and detonated above the northern hemisphere. Unlike a single crater from a direct hit, the evidence pointed toward multiple airbursts or explosions high in the atmosphere. These cosmic blasts would have rained down intense heat, ignited massive wildfires, and caused shockwaves capable of leveling forests. As the airburst theory gained attention, scientists and researchers began examining geological sites for clues, looking for impact proxies, the kinds of materials and residues that could only be formed under extreme heat and pressure. At dozens of archaeological sites across North America and Europe, including the well-known Blackwater Draw in New Mexico and the Murray Springs site in Arizona, researchers found consistent markers. Tiny spherules of melted glass and iron, known as microspherules, were scattered within the black mat layer. These particles can form when rocks are vaporized by high-temperature impacts. They also found elevated levels of platinum, a rare element on Earth but abundant in comets and asteroids. Shock metamorphosed quartz was also detected, a type of crystal structure only created in extreme conditions such as meteorite impacts or nuclear explosions. These materials were found embedded in layers dating precisely to the start of the Younger Dryas. Their presence was difficult to explain through normal volcanic or geologic activity. To supporters of the impact theory, this growing body of evidence suggested something more than climate fluctuation. It suggested cataclysm. Adding to the intrigue were the countless burn layers and charcoal deposits found across large swaths of North America. These indicated continent-wide wildfires on a scale rarely seen. In some locations, the fires seemed to have consumed forests and grasslands simultaneously, turning fertile land into ash in a matter of days. The sheer magnitude of the burning suggested a massive thermal event, one that could only be explained by a sudden and overwhelming heat source. Beyond the geological and chemical evidence, there were cultural and mythological clues as well. Indigenous stories from North America, including those of the Algonquin, Lakota, and Ojibwe, speak of a time when the sky fell, when fire rained from above, and when the great animals were destroyed in a single terrible moment. These stories, passed down orally for thousands of years, describe cosmic destruction with striking detail. Could these myths be ancient memories of a real event? As researchers collected this data, the theory gained traction. A team led by scientists including Richard Firestone and Alan West presented their findings in peer-reviewed journals, sparking fierce debate. Critics challenged the methods, the interpretations, and even the motivations behind the research. But the question remained, could a comet strike thousands of years ago have plunged Earth into a 1,000-year winter? Could it have erased entire species, collapsed cultures, and left behind a mystery still written into the soil? The physical evidence supporting the Younger Dryas Impact Hypothesis begins deep beneath the ground. Sediment cores taken from ancient lake beds, floodplains, and archaeological sites across North America and Europe have revealed a curious and consistent signature, a darkened layer of soil, often less than an inch thick, known simply as the black mat. This layer appears abruptly in the geologic record, dated precisely to around 12,800 years ago. It separates the last traces of Ice Age megafauna and early human tools from a new and drastically altered world. Within this layer, scientists have discovered a strange assortment of materials not commonly found in natural sediment. These include nanodiamonds, microspherules, and high concentrations of platinum and iridium, elements that are extremely rare in Earth's crust but abundant in certain types of meteorites and comets. The presence of nanodiamonds is especially compelling. These microscopic diamonds can form in the intense pressure and heat of an impact event. They're not the result of ordinary wildfires or volcanic activity. They are shock diamonds, born in the heart of destruction. Researchers also found what are known as melt glass particles, tiny beads of fused silica and other minerals that show signs of having been melted at temperatures exceeding 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That level of heat is not produced in typical earthbound fires, but it can occur in the blast of an airburst explosion or meteor impact. The glass was scattered across multiple locations on the North American continent, some sites more than 1,000 miles apart. These particles told a story of sudden and extreme thermal energy. Equally important were the spikes in magnetic particles found within the black mat layer. These included magnetic grains with high levels of iron and nickel, elements common in extraterrestrial bodies but unusual in surface soils. Such grains often show signs of having been vaporized and re-solidified mid-air, another indicator of a high-energy atmospheric explosion. Their widespread presence in geographically distant locations suggested a massive regional event, something powerful enough to affect an entire hemisphere. At sites like Abu Huraira in modern-day Syria, similar evidence has emerged. Excavations at this ancient settlement revealed vitrified surfaces, portions of mud brick and stone that had been flash-melted into glass. These transformations could not be explained by ordinary human activity or natural erosion. Some researchers propose that this may be a direct result of the same cosmic impact event believed to have struck the Western Hemisphere. Another overlooked clue comes from the massive field of Carolina Bays, shallow liquid depressions stretching from New Jersey to Georgia. Their aligned shapes and orientations have puzzled scientists for decades. Some proponents of the impact hypothesis believe these bays may have been formed by fragments of an exploding comet that rained down across the continent, gouging out land as they slammed into soft earth or icy surfaces. None of these discoveries, in isolation, would be conclusive, but together they form a mosaic of destruction, an array of geological scars, chemical signatures, and melted remnants that suggest the Earth encountered something vast and violent. This event, according to the impact theory, could have instantly altered weather patterns, sparked wildfires, and disrupted the entire global climate system. In the quiet soil beneath our feet, the fingerprints of catastrophe remain etched in carbon, glass, and ash. Mainstream science has offered several conventional explanations for the Younger Dryas event, most notably those rooted in climate and oceanography. According to the dominant academic view, the sudden cooling was triggered not by an impact from the sky, but by a disruption in the Atlantic Ocean's circulation system. Specifically, researchers point to the collapse or slowdown of what is known as the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, an immense conveyor belt of warm and cold water that moves heat between the equator and the poles. The theory holds that as the last ice age ended, enormous glacial lakes across North America, particularly Lake Agassiz, began to drain rapidly. These meltwater lakes were held back by ice dams. When those dams eventually failed, trillions of gallons of cold, fresh water were released into the North Atlantic in a geological instant. This influx diluted the ocean's salt content, disrupted its density, and may have caused the overturning circulation to grind to a halt. Without this flow of warm tropical water to the north, temperatures across Europe and North America plunged. This explanation is elegant and supported by climate modelling. Ice core samples from Greenland show a sharp drop in temperature occurring just as the Younger Dryas began, and a gradual warming at the end of the period, about 11,700 years ago. These changes appear in pollen records, marine sediments, and global climate proxies. From a geological standpoint, the narrative of melting ice, disrupted currents, and a stalled climate system provides a plausible mechanism for the cooling event. Academic consensus has generally leaned toward this freshwater flood theory, also known as the meltwater pulse hypothesis. It does not require the introduction of an extraterrestrial body, and it fits within the broader understanding of Earth's complex climate system. In classrooms and textbooks, the Younger Dryas is often explained using this model, and many geologists consider the case closed. Skeptics of the impact hypothesis argue that the evidence for a comet or asteroid is either inconclusive or misinterpreted. They question the dating of the black mat layer, the origin of microspherules, and the reliability of nanodiamond identification. Critics point out that some materials claimed to be impact-related could have other explanations, formed in wildfires, volcanic activity, or industrial contamination. Furthermore, no definitive crater from the supposed impact has been identified, casting doubt on the scale of the event proposed. Some researchers also argue that the extinction of megafauna and the decline of the Clovis culture could have been caused by a combination of climate change and overhunting by human populations. According to this interpretation, as ecosystems collapsed under shifting weather patterns, large animals became increasingly vulnerable. Human hunters may have delivered the final blow. While these conventional theories provide rational explanations, they also leave unanswered questions. The suddenness of the climatic reversal, the uniformity of destruction across vast distances, and the coinciding appearance of unusual geochemical markers continue to provoke debate. Many in the scientific community remain skeptical of an impact, while others argue that the absence of definitive proof does not equate to absence of cause. For now, the debate between earthbound processes and a celestial strike continues, each side holding its own version of what happened to the world 12,800 years ago. Despite the dominance of conventional theories, cracks have begun to appear in the foundations of the mainstream explanation. For one, the sheer speed and violence of the Younger Dryas onset remains difficult to reconcile with gradual oceanic changes. Temperature reconstructions from Greenland ice cores show an astonishing drop of up to 15 degrees Fahrenheit occurring in less than a single human lifetime. Such an abrupt climatic shift, some researchers argue, demands a more sudden and forceful trigger than melting ice and disrupted currents. The black mat layer itself poses another dilemma. Found at more than 50 archaeological and geological sites across 4 continents, this thin, dark band is not just a sign of environmental change, it is a time capsule. Beneath it, artifacts from the Clovis culture, megafaunal bones, and traces of lush ecosystems remain frozen in time. Above it, those same indicators vanish. The carbon-rich composition of the layer suggests immense biomass burning, likely caused by fires that swept entire regions. And yet, no known natural cause, volcano, drought, or seasonal wildfire, can account for the consistency or scale of this burn layer. The presence of impact proxies, microspherules, nanodiamonds, melt glass, and platinum group elements was initially met with skepticism. But as more independent teams began to confirm these findings at separate locations, the pattern grew harder to ignore. Some of the materials discovered, such as Lonsdaleite, a rare hexagonal form of diamond, are associated almost exclusively with high-energy explosions or impacts involving carbon-rich bodies. These substances were not the byproducts of common environmental processes. One of the most enigmatic clues may be the apparent absence of a crater. Critics of the impact theory often point to this as a fatal flaw. If a comet or asteroid struck Earth, where is the scar? Proponents counter that a fragmented comet, breaking apart before reaching the surface, could have created multiple airbursts instead of a single, centralized impact. The result would be widespread destruction, wildfires, and shockwaves, but no conventional crater. In support of this, researchers have proposed Greenland as the possible location of a hidden impact site. In 2018, a team using radar data discovered a massive depression beneath the Hiawatha Glacier, buried under nearly a mile of ice. The structure is more than 19 miles wide and exhibits features consistent with an impact crater, including a raised rim and central uplift. While dating the formation has proven difficult, some initial evidence suggests it could be younger than the last glacial maximum, possibly aligning with the Younger Dryas period. Then there is the pattern of extinction. Between 12,900 and 11,700 years ago, more than 35 genera of large mammals disappeared from North America. These included not only mammoths and mastodons, but also horses, camels, ground sloths, and the terrifying short-faced bear. This wave of extinctions was sudden and selective. The animals that vanished were mostly large-bodied and cold-adapted, precisely the types most vulnerable to a sudden climate shock or ecological collapse. These extinctions occurred at roughly the same time across continents, suggesting a global trigger. Hunting pressure from small bands of humans alone seems insufficient to account for such a massive die-off. Climate alone does not fully explain the synchronized pattern, but a cosmic impact, triggering atmospheric dust, blocked sunlight, wildfires, and ecological chain reactions, could. Though still controversial, this theory continues to draw new evidence and renewed interest from those who believe the mystery of the Younger Dryas has not yet been solved. As the search for answers expanded beyond traditional geology and archaeology, researchers began exploring theories that stepped far outside academic comfort zones. These fringe interpretations proposed that the Younger Dryas event was not just a planetary disaster. It was a reset, a global cataclysm with implications that reached deep into human myth, memory, and even lost technology. One of the most provocative ideas suggests that a once advanced civilization may have existed before the Younger Dryas. According to this view, humanity had already achieved a high level of cultural or technological development, perhaps even capable of stone architecture, mathematics, astronomy, or seafaring, long before recorded history officially began. Then something happened. A comet struck, oceans rose, Fires raged, and everything was lost beneath ice, mud, and time. Proponents of this theory often point to Göbekli Tepe, the 12,000-year-old megalithic site in southeastern Turkey. It features massive T-shaped stone pillars, some weighing over 10 tons, arranged in circular enclosures with intricate carvings of animals and abstract symbols. According to mainstream timelines, this site was built by pre-agricultural hunter-gatherers. But that explanation raises new questions. How could supposedly primitive people construct a monument of such precision and scale without farming, metallurgy, or a written language? Some believe Göbekli Tepe was either built by a remnant of an earlier civilization, or that it was a reconstruction, a monument to what was lost. Certain researchers, including independent author Graham Hancock, have argued that the site may encode astronomical alignments that reference the constellation Sagittarius and a comet-like object. If true, it could suggest that Göbekli Tepe preserves a memory of the Younger Dryas Impact event. Further support for a lost global culture is drawn from ancient flood myths found on nearly every continent. From the Babylonian epic of Gilgamesh to the Greek story of Deucalion, and from Hindu texts like the Satapatha Brahmana to Native American legends, cultures across the globe speak of a deluge that wiped out a previous world. While these stories differ in detail, their recurring themes, cosmic punishment, floodwaters, survival, and rebirth, suggest a shared archetype. Some fringe theorists propose these myths are not allegory, but distant memories of a real, planetary catastrophe that ended a forgotten chapter of human history. Speculative ideas also emerge around the possibility of ancient energy systems or lost knowledge destroyed in the chaos. The notion of electromagnetic technologies, planetary grids, and harmonics encoded in sacred architecture has gained traction among alternative researchers. They argue that civilizations before the Younger Dryas may have tapped into Earth's natural energy fields, and that this understanding vanished in the aftermath of the disaster. Even more esoteric interpretations go further, proposing that the Younger Dryas impact was not a random cosmic accident, but part of a celestial cycle. Some suggest that comets may return on predictable timelines, bringing both destruction and transformation. These ideas often blend mythology with astronomy, referencing cycles like the precession of the equinoxes, and pointing to monuments like the Sphinx or pyramids as time markers, placed to warn or remind future generations. While mainstream scholars reject these ideas as pseudoscience, the persistence of these patterns, catastrophe, lost knowledge, celestial alignments, and sudden resets, remains difficult to ignore. Whether metaphor or memory, the idea that something great was lost at the dawn of the Younger Dryas continues to inspire those who believe that the official timeline of history may be missing entire pages. Beyond the physical evidence and speculative theories lies something more elusive, a deeper symbolic resonance that gives the Younger Dryas event a mythic quality. This was not merely a shift in climate or a geological anomaly. It was a turning point in the story of humanity. Whether or not a comet shattered the skies, something happened that severed one world from another. A great silence followed the chaos. What emerged on the other side was a new world, colder, emptier, and profoundly changed. In many ancient traditions, destruction and rebirth are inseparable. The idea that the world was once ruined by fire, ice, or flood, only to be born again from the ashes, is not unique to a single culture or region. In Mesoamerica, the Aztecs believed that we live in the fifth sun, the fifth creation, preceded by four others, each destroyed by cataclysm. Hindu cosmology speaks of great cycles of time known as yugas, each ending in collapse and renewal. The Norse Ragnarok foretells of a frozen apocalypse, fire from the sky, and a new earth rising from the sea. These are not isolated myths, they are patterns. Some researchers view these stories not just as allegories but as encoded memories, narratives shaped over generations to preserve fragments of a truth too devastating to fully understand. The Younger Dryas, then, becomes more than an event. It becomes a symbol of fragility, of memory lost, and of warnings ignored. In this light, ancient monuments, star maps, and temples take on a dual purpose. They are not only celebrations of knowledge or cosmic alignment, they are reminders. Warnings, perhaps, carved in stone and aligned with the heavens. Even today, the traces of this transformation remain. The black mat is still there, stretched like a thin shadow across the bones of extinct beasts. The nanodiamonds still sparkle under microscopes formed in the instant of annihilation. The stories still echo, of stars falling, skies burning, and waters rising. In the soil, in the myths, in the ruins, the fingerprints of this forgotten crisis persist. Symbolically, the Younger Dryas reminds us of our vulnerability to forces beyond our control. Whether natural or cosmic, sudden change is a constant thread in the human journey. Civilizations rise, flourish, and fall, often in ways that cannot be predicted or explained in the moment. The Earth itself carries a deep memory of destruction and survival, written not in language, but in layers of stone, fire, and ice. It also raises deeper questions about what humanity may have lost. Not just species or settlements, but ideas, connections, and perhaps even an entire way of seeing the world. If there was knowledge before the ice returned, before the skies fell, it may lie buried under mud, hidden beneath ice caps, or encoded in legends long dismissed as fantasy. The symbolic weight of the Younger Dryas is not just in what happened, but in what may have been erased. To study this ancient mystery is to look backward and forward at once. Backward, into a prehistoric world that speaks through symbols and ruins, and forward toward our own future, shaped by the same planet, the same sky, and perhaps the same patterns. It is a call to remember that the story of Earth is not linear, it is cyclical, and every great beginning may be hiding the echo of a forgotten end. As we trace the echoes of the Younger Dryas across landscapes and legends, a pattern of key clues and unresolved questions emerges, each one casting light on a mystery that stretches across continents and millennia. We now understand that something dramatic occurred around 12,800 years ago. The global climate shifted violently, the megafauna vanished, human cultures disappeared or transformed. The planet itself was shaken. The evidence begins with the black mat layer, found across multiple continents. It marks an unmistakable dividing line, before it signs of life and growth, after it signs of fire, death, and silence. Buried within that layer are strange materials, nanodiamonds, microspherules, melted glass, and magnetic grains, all pointing to extreme heat and cosmic origin. These are not everyday geological artifacts. They suggest an event of massive scale and intensity. The extinction of North American megafauna adds another layer. The timing is too perfect to dismiss. Mammoths, mastodons, giant ground sloths, saber-toothed cats, and others all vanish in the geological blink of an eye. The Clovis culture, once thriving, is suddenly gone. These extinctions and disappearances span not just North America, but parts of South America, Europe, and Asia. If this was not caused by a cosmic impact, then what force on Earth could have acted so fast, so thoroughly? The ice cores from Greenland offer silent testimony. In thin strands of ancient ice, trapped bubbles of air reveal how temperatures plunged dramatically, up to 15 degrees Fahrenheit in mere years. The transition was neither slow nor steady. It was immediate. A climate event of that speed and magnitude is almost without precedent in the geological record. Geological formations like the Hiawatha crater beneath Greenland's ice add even more intrigue. Though its age remains under debate, its very existence reignites the question of where a comet impact might have occurred. Could it be the missing crater, the smoking gun that researchers have been looking for? Or is it one of many, buried under glaciers, oceans, or eroded by time? At archaeological sites like Abu Huraira, we find vitrified remains, materials fused by heat beyond the capabilities of ancient fire. The Carolina Bays, with their uniform elliptical depressions and strange orientation, remain unexplained by conventional geology. Some suggest they are scars left by debris from a fragmented comet, raining down in fiery arcs across the landscape. And then there is the mythology. Cultures separated by oceans share memories of fire from the sky, floods that swallowed the land, and a time before everything was lost. Are these echoes of a shared trauma, one so great it burned itself into the memory of humanity? Or are they coincidence, born of common fears and natural cycles? Traditional explanations, melting glaciers, oceanic disruptions, human overhunting, provide some answers, but they cannot explain all of it. The uniformity of destruction, the geochemical signatures, the worldwide extinctions, the sudden drop in temperatures, These do not neatly align with a single earthbound cause. Even the dating of events, aligned across ice cores, sediment layers, and extinction markers, points to a narrow window of time when everything changed. The Younger Dryas remains one of the most compelling, perplexing, and controversial mysteries in the story of our planet. It forces us to confront the possibility that history as we know it may be incomplete, that what we think of as the beginning of civilization, of order, of progress, may actually be a new chapter written atop the ruins of one we barely remember. Whatever happened during the Younger Dryas, it was no ordinary moment in time. It was an interruption, a global punctuation mark that changed the course of Earth's climate, reshaped the ecosystems of entire continents, and may have left deep scars in the psyche of humankind. Whether caused by a fragmented comet detonating in the skies, by massive glacial floods choking the Atlantic, or by some combination of forces beyond current understanding, the effect was the same. A world in motion was suddenly stopped, and from that stillness, a new story began. In the aftermath of the event, the world re-emerged transformed. The ice began its final retreat. The great beasts of the Pleistocene were gone. New cultures rose from the ashes of the old. Agriculture took root. Permanent settlements formed. The world that followed the Younger Dryas was the foundation of our own, but it may have emerged from a trauma we barely comprehend. The theory that a cosmic object struck Earth remains debated. Not because the evidence is lacking, but because the implications are vast. If humanity once lived under skies that burned, if knowledge was lost in a single terrifying instant, then much of what we consider the beginning of civilization might instead be a restart. The black mat beneath our feet, the extinction of giant species, the ancient ruins we cannot explain, all may be fragments of a forgotten epoch buried in time. The mystery persists in the physical layers of the Earth and in the myths we carry forward. Whether it was a comet that scorched the heavens or a surge of icy water that drowned the warmth of the world, the Younger Dryas reminds us that history is fragile. It can vanish in fire, in flood, or in silence, and sometimes all three at once. We may never find the final crater. We may never uncover the full truth, but the signs left behind, burned forests, shattered bones, vanished cultures, and stories of the sky falling, call us to remember. They ask us to look deeper, to read the ancient record, not just in data and sediment, but in story, in intuition, and in imagination. Perhaps the greatest lesson of the Younger Dryas is not about destruction, but about memory, about how a world can be broken and still begin again, about how the past is never truly gone. It waits, buried beneath layers of ice, stone, and time, whispering for those willing to listen. Thanks for listening. This has been Ancient Mysteries. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you'd like to support the show, gain access to bonus content, and unlock our entire library of video podcasts, subscribe to the Forbidden Knowledge Network on Patreon. Subscribe now.